The Big Apple on a cold winter night as New York meets New Jersey, Big East style, at the world's most famous arena. Welcome to Big East basketball from Madison Square Garden. The St. John's Red Storm gets set to host the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Good evening, everybody. Kenny Albert, along with Jim Spanarkel. Rutgers and St. John's with identical records, 1-6 in conference play, 7-10 overall. And Jim, let's start with Rutgers. An up and down month of January for the Scarlet Knights. More down than up. Their only Big East victory came at home over Providence, and then in the last 10 days, a heartbreaking loss to Syracuse. Rutgers led by 18 at the half, and a 33-point drubbing in their last game at home at the hands of Villanova.
And how did they bounce back? Well, they need Quincy Douby to step it up. He did not score a field goal in that game against Villanova. Here's a guy who didn't score a point, but they need him from the backcourt with his long-range shooting. His counterpart, Ricky Shields, another tough night from the floor, 1 of 8 from the field. Not shooting the ball obviously well from three-point range. This is a backcourt-driven team. They need these guys to step it up for this game to really be successful tonight.
And Jim, on the other side, St. John's with a pair of victories this season over ranked schools, North Carolina State and Pitt. But the Red Storm have struggled as of late. As Darrell Hill goes, so goes St. John's.
Absolutely. And the thing about Hill is he's another guy who has to bounce back tonight because he went 3 for 15 in the last outing against Seton Hall. But make no mistake about it, this kid has a lot of offensive ability and a lot of tricks. As he goes to the basket, he can slice through the lane and make things happen. Very good on the open floor, plays the defense in terms of the passing lanes terrifically. And really, when he's got the basketball, you have to watch him because he'll score, he'll look to make things happen. He's the leading scorer for this team. Needs a big output tonight to come back and bounce back.
Well, Jim, Rutgers won the only meeting last season by 8 down at the rack. The Scarlet Knights and the Red Storm coming up next. Welcome back to the Garden, moments away from Rutgers and St. John's. As we check out the starting lineups for the Scarlet Knights, Ollie Bailey, Byron Joines up front, Quincy Douby, Ricky Shields, Marquise Webb in the backcourt. For the Red Storm, Dexter Gray, Lamont Hamilton, with Cedric Jackson, Eugene Lawrence, and Darrell Hill. St. John's in white, Rutgers in black and red. And we are underway from the Garden as the Scarlet Knights control. Webb will bring it up.
Little full court. That's where the ball started, so why not pick up? Jackson going the distance for St. John's. Start things off. They'll come out. The man-to-man pressure defense. Try to make sure that the Rutgers Scarlet Knights do not get on track from that perimeter with Shields and Douby that we just touched on in the open.
Rutgers shot only 2 of 17 from 3 in the loss to Villanova on Saturday. And Quincy Douby, who did not score in that game, has the first bucket here tonight.
And from a player perspective, you can't really get a feel for how good Douby feels right now because he's just happy to see that ball go through. Basically, a guy like him who shoots the basketball thinks nothing about missing, but going after constantly and shooting.
Missed all 7 field goal attempts in the loss to Villanova. He and Ricky Shields, a combined 1 of 15. 10 on the shot clock, and the Red Storm turn it over. An offensive foul is the call on Dexter Gray. Gary Waters in his 4th season at Rutgers after 5 years as the head coach at Kent State, and Norm Roberts in his inaugural season. St. John's here at the Garden this year, 3-2, including the Holiday Festival Championship. They upset North Carolina State.
And one thing that Norm Roberts has done, he has an undermanned squad right now, but really gets them to play very hard and aggressive basketball.
Ollie Bailey has given Rutgers a 4-0 lead.
Good little turnaround right there, Bailey. Little outside for Douby, setting him up for the first set, then coming right back and trying to plug one down low.
Norm Roberts not happy with the effort in the loss to Seton Hall on Saturday, 62-55. From 3, Cedric Jackson off the mark. He felt St. John's did not compete hard enough. Their bench was outscored 30-2. St. John's shot only 33% from the field, and they also missed 12 from the free throw line.
Yeah, and the thing about that, obviously you have games like that, but by and large, I think over the last month or so, he's really gotten them to play aggressive basketball. And Norm Roberts has done a good job with this. It seems like the kids are connecting with him from the bench, so there's good communication that's translating on the floor for him in terms of aggressive play. The effort better here at the defensive end right now. Nice look.
Doobie goes behind the back. It's good, and the foul.
Well designed there by Doobie. The shot clock running down a little bit, had the ball through the traffic for a little period of time. But watch the way he slices. Now all of a sudden you see guys jumping across. Doobie, first of all, missing the charge opportunity there. So he slices now to our right looking at it, and then a little flip, underhand flip for Bailey to finish it off. He'll go to the line to try to finish off the three-point play.
Ollie Bailey, freshman out of Chicago, a two-time Big East Rookie of the Week so far this season, does complete the three-point play. He now has 5, and Rutgers with a 7-0 lead.
Bailey continues to give them solid play. They need that presence down low to take some of the pressure off the outside shooters.
Darrell Hill with the nice look for Lamont Hamilton, and Jim Burr with the call. Burr along with Will Bush and Mike Stevens.
Same type of play down the St. John's end just then. See the penetration off the dribble. See big guys start to jump. Joins jumps a little bit to his right to pick up and help out. Next thing you know, that's when opportunities present themselves. So the good quick bang bang quick hitters go into the basket.
Hamilton coming off a double-double against Seton Hall. 14 points, 11 rebounds. Red Storm have struggled from the line as of late. Only 55% in their last 5 games. Hamilton missing on both.
You get to the line, you do the right thing, Ken. You get the line down 7-0, but you have to come away at least with 1 to get rid of that goose egg up on the scoreboard.
Ricky Shields from 3. And we just mentioned St. John's missed 12 free throws in their last game on Saturday.
Right, absolutely. So I think, you still want to continue to pound it and try to drive. That's a good move right there on the outside. Keep pushing that ball to the lane.
Hamilton backing in on Joins. Lost the handle, then regains.
Nice job by Joins right there. Taking the bounce, taking the bump, not giving up much ground on it.
Shot clock under 10. Now at 5 as Hill is called for the offensive foul.
That's that extra dribble right there. I can understand what Hill's trying to do, trying to be aggressive to get to the line. How about the little 8-foot pull-up right now? Nope, he decides to make a decision, and actually Shields forced him. I know Joins is picking up this ball, the charge right here, but you see Shields on the lower left. His step in forced him and didn't allow him to make that pass that he was looking for underneath.
Quincy Doobie slashing his way to the hoop. Joins surrounded by 3 white jerseys, and it's finally rebounded by Hamilton.
Nice decisions, though, once again by Rutgers. Not coming away with anything, but especially with Doobie trying to force his way.
And now Darrell Hill on the follow. Dexter Gray, it's good, and the foul. So St. John's finally off the side. 3 minutes, 36 seconds in. They score their first points of the game.
And how did they score the points? Once again, it's Hill driving, missing a shot that he normally puts up, but a good follow-up, because as Hill comes through the lane, a lot of the Rutgers players, you can see them there. They're looking for him. They're trying to step in. They can't figure out what he's going to be doing. He hesitates real nicely coming through the lane. Consequently, you get offensive rebounding opportunities.
And Jim Byron Joins committed his second personal, so Joins sits down, replaced by Jimmy English.
Little 2-1-2 look right now. Take a little time off the clock. Force Rutgers into some different changes as you take a look at the numbers right there. 3 of 7. Rutgers trying to keep it going towards the basket as much as they can.
Rutgers shot only 29% in their last game against Villanova. English off the back of the rim, rebounded by Eugene Lawrence.
One thing you don't want to see as a coach, guy gets in off the bench the first time down the floor. He had a force into taking that shot. It was a good shot, but you're not really in the rhythm yet going up and down the floor. And he has to take that 15-footer because it was wide open for him.
Lawrence from 3.
Tried to go window there, huh? I don't know if by design, though.
And a strong rebound pulled down by English. 4.5 in. Rutgers with a 4-point lead as Doobie throws it back out for Marquise Webb. And now Shields guarded by Hill.
Doobie doing a nice job running around screens and keeping active.
Quincy Doobie showing the nice touch.
Yeah, Lawrence stayed with him around a couple of screens too, but broke down just a little bit as he came around the last screen down below. Doobie doing a good job recognizing the shot opportunities.
Hill from three.
Now Doobie also doing recognizing that Hill was out there all by himself. He pointed at Bailey to go get him, but a little too late. Hill trying to warm it up. Yeah, he's going to get called for that. Yep, yeah, he got the hands moving a little bit too much. Especially in front of the official right there. Doobie picks up his second. That should take him out of his rhythm a little bit.
So a 3-point lead for Rutgers. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Kenny Albert with Jim Spanarkel. A 3-point Rutgers lead. Just over 5 minutes in. Both teams have lost 3 in a row. Identical records, 1-6 in the Big East, 7-10 overall.
Well, a guy who needs some scoring today, Rutgers, Quincy Doobie, coming off a screen first, a little dip down low for Bailey to finish it off. And then once again, using the screen initially, then kind of getting himself under control. We'll get a little 7-footer there to drop for him, but the 2 fouls may be the biggest line on his stat sheet. You look at that night, and I'm sure that's one that they don't want to see too often anymore. The Villanova game down 33 points and a loss and didn't score. He and Shields had troubles, as we've documented in the open.
Doobie, a Brooklyn native out of Brady High School, had a career game here at the Garden Gym in the NIT semifinals. Last year he scored 35 points against Iowa State.
I think it was my mistake. Ken Doobie does not have the 2 fouls, but Hill has the 2 fouls, so my bad there. And Doobie will continue to look for screens and opportunities.
Doobie drew that last foul
right
from Hill.
against it.
And here's Doobie.
Hill in the middle of traffic defensively just then.
Marquise Webb hitting the 3.
You know, for a team, and Rutgers has been a funny team this year. They've played, you know, we talked about their tough January. They've played competitive basketball in some of their games. Tonight they're coming out. They seem like they're all on the same page. They don't look like a team that had troubles against Villanova, that's for sure.
They brought Pitt to overtime. They nearly beat Syracuse. They led that game by 18. Playing some tough D here. Gray bottled up. St. John's maintains possession. We played 6 minutes. Red Storm with only 6 points.
Well, the zone is pretty effective right now. That Rutgers has slid back into a 2-3.
Kept alive by Jackson.
One of the things about a 2-3 defense is that you really don't look for a man that often. You kind of rebound out of spots. You really should try to find a man in your spot, in your zone.
From 3, Lawrence. And the foul called on the rebound. It's against Rutgers.
See, St. John's is attacking it pretty nicely too, Ken. When you look at it, they're trying to get the ball into the middle of the floor, which always makes sense against the zone. You look for interior shots first, and then you kick it outside. So Norm Roberts has his guys executing fine. They're just not hitting those outside shots when they present themselves.
Jimmy English called for that last foul. St. John's just 2 of 7 from the field, but they've out-rebounded Rutgers 6-3. Again, the Red Storm working around the perimeter. Here's Darrell Hill from 3. He's got it. His second 3-point field goal today.
Yeah, 37% on the season. He's a guy, you know, this is a team that shoots about 31% on the season, so you don't want Hill to be shooting the basketball. Go track Hill and find somebody else to shoot.
Ricky Shields, the fadeaway no good, and it bounces right back to Shields. Doobie from 3.
Long shots that miss generally kick out for long rebounds. Nice, there you go, split the zone. Oh, duck, Kenny, it's coming our way.
Came right back to Jackson, had another opportunity, and now English quickly into the front court. Doobie, Rutgers leading by 3. 7.5 gone by first half. Shields from long range.
Yep. Shields and Doobie just missed long range coming down the floor the previous trip, but that really doesn't stop. But one thing you have to give them credit for, they will take the shots when they're open. Sometimes they're taking them a little quickly, but when they go down, they can light up Rutgers a little bit and they get their rhythm going.
Hill dishing off, and Hamilton was fouled. Foul was called on Doobie, his first. Yeah, it is Doobie. So Lamont Hamilton heads to the free throw line. He missed 2 earlier. Hamilton now 0 for 3.
Form looks okay, but just not getting it really. The touch is not there. I mean, the extension, the follow through looks okay. Going to go to the line. Big fella has to knock him down.
First substitution for St. John's as Ryan Williams, the junior out of Cardozo High School in Bayside, checks in, replacing Cedric Jackson. 5-point Rutgers lead as Webb dishes off for Inglis.
Well, Webb under control, real good assist to turnover ratio, but if Hill's going to come at him and challenge him like that, Hill has to be careful with his fouls. You can go by him and make things happen, so Hill may have to back off a little bit.
Doobie getting the piece of it, and Rutgers looking to add now to their 7-point lead.
Well, they go quick sometimes, don't they? A little bit too fast for Doobie, that trip down the floor.
Lawrence driving baseline, and that is the 3rd offensive foul called against the Red Storm. Eugene Lawrence called for his first. A timeout on the floor with the Scarlet Knights leading the Red Storm by 7. Welcome back to Madison Square Garden. 11:20 remaining. First half, Rutgers leading by 7. And we are pleased to welcome the new athletic director at St. John's University, Chris Monash, named to his new post yesterday. Chris, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you, Kenny. It's great to be back in New York and great to be at St. John's. Excited to be here. There's a lot of support, and I think Norm's doing a great job and has the program going in the right direction.
I'm sure it's been a whirlwind 24 hours for you since the official announcement yesterday, but what went through your mind when you officially were hired by your alma mater?
Well, just very honored and certainly humbling. It's a major program, and to be part of it's really exciting. The community's behind us, and I think people in New York want to see a strong St. John's and certainly a strong men's basketball program.
Chris, speak a little bit about the men's basketball program. Obviously a new coach, Norm Roberts, so that's one thing you don't have to worry about, hiring a new basketball coach, but give us a little feel for your impressions of him to this point in the season.
I've had a chance to meet with him, spent a couple hours with him yesterday, and I know from people in the industry he's highly respected, and I like the little things he's doing with the program. You know, the way he deals with the student athletes, what he expects from them. You know, these are young people that are still at a stage of their lives where you know, they need that kind of leadership, and I think he's building a good foundation. They're a better basketball team today than they were early in the season, and that's what you want a coach to do.
You know, a lot of fans that are listening, you know, think of athletic directors and they think, well, it's a great job because I get to go and watch a lot of basketball games or sporting events. But talk a little bit about what else is involved with your job as athletic director at a school like St. John's, and maybe part of your plan to get the community involved with the school.
Well, what we need to do, I think, in the athletic department is give the coaches the support they need. I mean, it really starts out with the experience for the student athlete. So we need to have top-flight facilities. We need to have the marketing program in place, life skills, academic support, all the components that behind the scenes going into making sure the experience for the student athlete is successful. Obviously, you have to have the right coaches in place, and that's what's exciting about St. John's. I think we do. As far as getting the community back involved, you know, winning basketball certainly is a big part of it, but again, the promotions and marketing to go with that.
And obviously, when you talk about St. John's, people think of community around St. John's intimately, but obviously the community is New York City and the metropolitan area for you, so it's a big marketing campaign.
It is. I mean, St. John's, when they're playing well, is a big part of the winter sports scene here, you know, with the Knicks and the Rangers and all the other pro teams. So it's important that they're good. It's a key for the university, and I think the community is behind it.
Now, Chris, you are the commissioner of the America East Conference. What's the timetable as far as your transition at St. John's?
I'll see us through our basketball tournaments in early March. I'll start at St. John's full-time on March 13th, but certainly at this point have my feet kind of in both camps. But obviously the basketball tournaments for us are the big events and promoting our teams for postseason play. So I'm going to stay with the American East Conference to that point.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by. Best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, Kenny. Good to see you guys. Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Chris Monash, the new athletic director at St. John's, named to his post yesterday. Red Storm trailing Rutgers by 10 as Eugene Lawrence is off the mark from 3. Chris, in chatting with the media yesterday, Jim also mentioned women's basketball and men's soccer as two of the other programs that have had great success in recent years, and St. John's, of course, hopes to continue along those lines in many other sports as well.
Well, I mean, that's part of the job as an AD. I mean, sometimes you see sports that are on television. You think, well, the job of an athletic director is just to focus on those quote-unquote TV-type sports, but it's a well-rounded. You heard him talk about the marketing. We've heard him talk about the student athletes, developing the whole system, the whole community at St. John's. And it's a great school, has a great tradition in many different ways. And they've just selected a pretty good AD in the future for them.
And Chris has a terrific feel for athletics in the metropolitan area. Started his career as the assistant athletics director at Fordham. He's a former associate AD at Seton Hall as well.
Absolutely, and I mean he's been around the block in the metropolitan area, so it's a good opportunity for him. And you would just anticipate, as I just mentioned, much success for him individually in that position, and also for the school as a community and as an academic institution.
Rutgers maintaining their 10-point lead over St. John's. Here's Webb driving baseline, throws it back out. But an offensive foul, and that is the first Rutgers turnover in this game.
And we've seen a bunch of offensive fouls, and once again, guys getting out of control just a little bit as they're anxious, going to the basket, leaving their feet before they actually see what happens in terms of their decision. You touched on it being Rutgers' first turnover, but we have 5 on the board for St. John's.
Rutgers averaging only 11 turnovers per game, 7th best in the nation in that department. Jim, both teams have gone cold. They have both missed their last 6 field goal attempts, make it 7 on the Rutgers side.
And part of me would start to question the quickness of the shots, the shot selection. Coming down the floor, that was a pretty good example of it. A quick shot, nobody's in a position to offensive rebound.
Hamilton boxed out by Ollie Bailey. And a timeout call. Gary Waters wants to talk things over with his team leading by 10.
And I think part of the message that Gary's going to focus on right now is pretty much what we were just talking about. Maybe the shot selection, the quickness of the shots. Hey guys, we got that 20-10 lead. Let's take that to our advantage. Let's use the clock. Let's go after them. Let's attack a little bit more.
So the Scarlet Knights with a 10-point lead. More exciting Big East basketball will come your way next Saturday at noon Eastern, as Big East leading scorer Darrell Hill leads the St. John's Red Storm into Connecticut to square off against the inside-outside combination of Josh Boone and Rashad Anderson at St. John's and UConn next Saturday at noon Eastern.
Let me slide in very quickly, Kenny Albert. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I've been waiting all night for me to wish you a happy birthday.
Well, I know it's a big day for your daughter as well.
My daughter Bridget celebrating her 18th birthday.
So Bridget and I share Groundhog's Day.
That's all right. Say hello to my parents. My father coming back from surgery, making great strides there. A couple of people in the neighborhood, if I can say hello to them too while we're at it.
All right, Mr. Rizzuto.
Yeah, exactly. I got to head to the bridge.
Here's Joel Wiggin. Rutgers looking for some instant offense off the bench.
Pushing way away from the basketball on that trip down the floor.
Next to Gray, knocked down by Joel Wiggin. Rutgers by 10. Back at Madison Square Garden, Rutgers leading St. John's by 10 with 7:22 remaining in this first half. Kenny Albert with Jim Spanarkel. Let's take a look now at our Hyundai Cool Facts. Ricky Shields hit a 3 moments ago. The 240th successful 3-point field goal of his Rutgers career, just 2 behind the all-time Scarlet Knights leader, Jeff Billett.
Guy who really put together a good run for Seton Hall. Jeff had a great career down there at the guard position. And so has Shields. I mean, it's a type of guy who really, you know, especially when he's playing at the rack, he's a lot of fun to watch, because all the people in the rack, when they watch him play, they know that he's going to pull up at certain times. They almost get a real feel for his game. And when he starts hitting those long bombs in close games, he's always been very exciting and an exciting player to watch for Rutgers fans.
8th in the Big East this season in three-point percentage. St. John's only 10 points. Who've played nearly 13 minutes. They are 3 of 17, now 4 of 18 from the field as Lamont Hamilton pulls the Red Storm to within 8.
They find a way to squeeze out a basket right there, but their offense against the zone still is not sharp at all. They're kind of hesitating now, and they've also seen it, Ken, about 4 or 5 minutes now. Consistently, they've seen the zone, so have to get back into it.
Now, Rutgers has done a terrific job defensively, and on the other end, Dan Waterstrat off the nice pass underneath from Doobie.
Where Rutgers continues to use the ball, the dribble with effectiveness, with a purpose, going through the middle of the floor, and then dumping it off nicely.
Rutgers back up by 10, 6.5 remaining in the first half. Eugene Lawrence from 3, in and out, rebounded by Ricky Shields.
See, that's a tough one too, because not a bad shot off that, because what they did then, they tried to push the ball off the dribble into the middle of the floor. You get the zone to collapse a little bit, then kick it out. You got guys seeing the ball, seeing the shot in flight. You can rebound a little bit better from those positions.
3 starters on the floor for Rutgers. Doobie, Shields, and Bailey. Waterstrat could not get the roll. Waterstrat and Wiggin off the bench for the Scarlet Knights. Rutgers just 9 of 26, but the Red Storm just 4 of 19 from the floor.
And one of the things Rutgers has done very nicely, they've gotten back on defense quickly, not allowing any snowbirds for St. John's.
Hill hitting the 3. It's his 3rd three-point field goal, single-handedly keeping St. John's in the game.
Well, they got to get a couple of stops right now, get a little momentum back for the end of this 5.5 minutes or so in the first half. You know, it's too sporadic in terms of their scoring. Got to get another consecutive set down the floor. That's the big guy out on the floor against when the big guy is Bailey in this situation, Ken. When they start putting the ball on the floor from 17 feet away, those little guys just love to see them coming, because they can step in and establish themselves quickly, generally get the call going their way.
Bailey called for the offensive foul. Phil Masiri and Cedric Jackson have checked in for St. John's, joining Ryan Williams, Lamont Hamilton, and Darrell Hill. Hill does not sit much. He's played 40 minutes, Jim, in 5 of the last 7 games.
He never looks like he's tired, even with all the numbers he puts up.
That one deflected off Jackson, so it will be Rutgers basketball. In fact, the St. John's starters play 76% of the minutes, and fatigue has been a factor as of late. They have only 8 scholarship players on the roster.
Yeah, and that is one of the things. And you know, it's not bad actually from a defensive standpoint that Rutgers is playing a zone, because you know they're getting back, they're not pressuring, picking up, and wearing out St. John's as much.
Another rebound for Hamilton. That is his 5th.
So you're trying to get the ball down in a hurry to get a quick shot before the zone gets set up. And Rutgers doing a good job.
Ryan Williams a bit short after he made a nice move along the baseline. And the foul is called on Masiri, his 1st. Masiri, the former walk-on who started 8 games for the Red Storm last year. Only 2 Rutgers turnovers so far. Nearly a 3rd. Wiggin. And Hamilton strong again underneath.
Pretty good job with the activity of that trip by St. John's defensively. Just can't really seem to get the ball to the foul line area.
Hill already with 3 threes. Masiri with the offensive rebound. Then he was stripped by Wiggin.
Whoa, watch out.
Wiggin and Williams collide, and when Wiggin made contact with the basketball, he stepped out of bounds.
That was a terrific effort though by both of these players. You'll watch him come right down the sideline at the camera. He balls up for grabs and going after it.
Rutgers leading by 7. Big first half for Darrell Hill with 3 3-point field goals for the Red Storm.
The Rutgers zone has been giving them some problems, but Darrell Hill has been able to figure it out, going 3 for 4 from long range. But the collapsing defense is forcing it out on the floor. Hill stepping up, looking for his shot, striding into it, doing a good job. I think he needs a little more help, though, with the St. John's team, because guys have to kind of find spots against the zone, be able to drive by it. Hill putting up the nice numbers as he just touched on, but one of the things they really have to do is maybe penetrate, push the ball into the paint area, kick it back out, or try to pull up for little 10 to 12-foot jumpers.
Hill coming off a 6-point game against Seton Hall that ended a stretch in which he had scored in double figures, Jim, in 25 consecutive games.
Ken, as you notice, too, with the 2-3 zone right now with the Rutgers team, look at the lack of motion, really.
The alley-oop and the left-handed attempt by Williams. And it winds up in the hands of Doobie.
Pretty stagnant, though, even though they almost had that one go down. Pretty stagnant against the zone for St. John's at the offensive end.
Shields involved in a collision with Hill.
Norm Roberts' reaction right there. That ball was right in front of him. He thought it should have gone the other way. They'll beef a little bit, as most coaches will do.
Perhaps to get the next call.
Absolutely.
Rutgers leading by 7. Quincy Doobie already with 6 assists, and he has 2 field goals of his own. So Doobie has been involved in 8 of the 9 Rutgers field goals.
Well, you know he wasn't going to duplicate what he did against Villanova. Put that behind him. The best thing that can happen to a kid like that is get back on the floor.
Waterstrat showing the nice touch with 2 seconds on the shot clock.
I like the patience that Rutgers is showing. I mean, they're not in a hurry. Sometimes that's one of the things about their offense. They'll come down the floor, as they have tonight a little bit, taking quick shots. But the last 3 or 4 sets down the floor, they've slowed themselves down, forcing St. John's to work defensively. And you can do that with a big lead.
Jackson hitting Masiri underneath, drops it off for Williams. Wow. Again missing from close range.
Well, those are just shots you have to put away in this league. There's no question about it. You want to win a basketball game.
Shields no good from 3. Kept alive by Joins, and then he was stripped.
Neither one of these teams really getting into a good flow at the offensive end of the floor.
Both teams shooting under 35%.
Yeah, if you're St. John's right now, what you need to do, Ken, is you need to get a bucket here. Get maybe 2 minutes. It's under 2 minutes right now. Get 2 minutes of strong basketball in. Nice little floater just then through the lane. And one of the things you can do now is get a stop. And you know what? Chip away. Maybe you get another bucket here. You're only down 5 rather than 7.
Despite shooting only 23% from the field.
You know, you get this thing down to 5-ish with a minute and a half left at the halftime. I mean, that's almost like a psychological win after playing a tough half of basketball. Nobody awake for that cross-court pass.
Waterstrat knocked up in the air by Hamilton, and it drops down into the hands of Masiri.
Now, this is where St. John's has to be smart, though. Don't come down and throw up a bad shot initially. Make sure you get a good look.
Hill no good from 3. Hamilton a monster on the boards tonight.
But you see, too, Kenny, the fact of the matter is that, went for the knockoff play there, missed.
Kept alive by St. John's.
Somehow, right? But you take good shots in the sets, and guys on your teammates know where the shots are coming for. They can anticipate offensive rebounding a whole lot easier.
Red Storm trailing by 7. The series sets the pick. 5 on the shot clock. Hamilton for Masiri.
Great cut, great pass, and good execution. You look up, now you're down 5. St. John's wants to get a stop right here, gives them a little boost. Everybody on their bench is standing up finally, showing a little energy, a little excitement. It's been hard to find something.
About a 1 second differential, shot clock to game clock in this first half. Doobie had that partially blocked by Jackson, and now a chance to pull to within 3 points or 2.
Gary Waters puts his hands on his hips, and the message I think right there is with the shot clock the way it was, get the last shot of the half. Don't make this any worse than it is.
Hill from 3 off the mark. But St. John's with the last 4 points of the half, cutting a 9-point deficit down to 5. So at halftime, Rutgers leading 24-19. Coming up at the half, we'll look at the Player of the Week and the Rookie of the Week in the Big East Conference. A Big East Championship flashback, first half stats and highlights as well. That's all coming up as we are at the half here at Madison Square Garden. A low-scoring first half. Rutgers up by 5. To look at our Aeropostale Big East Championship flashback.
In the quarterfinals of the 1998 Big East Championship, Rutgers needed a last-second leaner from point guard Jeff Billett to defeat Georgetown 61-60 and advance to the semifinals. This Big East Championship flashback has been brought to you by Aeropostale, providing scholarships through sponsorships.
At the half, Rutgers leading St. John's 24-19. Jim and I will return with first half stats and highlights in a moment.
Get an eye.
Welcome back to Madison Square Garden. Halftime with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights leading the St. John's Red Storm by the score of 24-19. Kenny Albert, Jim Spinarkle, two teams with identical records. Right? Identical Big East records, identical non-conference records, both in desperate need of a victory.
And both of them, Ken, almost with identical shooting performances in the first half, albeit Rutgers was at 31%, St. John's at 24%. Neither of these teams got into a real good offensive flow and chemistry on the floor. And then when they had some open looks, they just couldn't knock them back. So both of these teams need this 15 minutes to take a break and regroup for the second half.
Ready for some highlights?
I'm ready. Let's go. Why not?
Take it away.
Well, with the first half, Doobie, we spoke about at the open, coming off a poor performance against Villanova, finds a shooting touch from the outside, drives to the basket at the beginning of this game. Only 2 for 8 to start off this game. Ricky Shields 1 for 5. But Darrell Hill at the other end for St. John's, finding his stroke, shooting 4 for 9, but most importantly, 3 for 6 from the three-point stroke. You see a little floater down the lane. Finally, at the end of that half, there's a little inside action with a slip to the basket. St. John's gets their probably easiest bucket of the night.
We'll look at the first half numbers. Jim mentioned the shooting percentages. Both teams with 3 from 3, and St. John's with the edge on the boards.
Right, and once again, I mean, you don't go in looking for a stat sheet. It's a joke kind of when you go in as a player in the half, but clearly none of these players were looking for or searching for a stat sheet. What you really have to do is come back as a group and regroup and come out and play solid defense, get back on track, and try to turn your defensive effort into good offensive opportunities. Not many fast break opportunities off turnovers or just in the sense of going up and down with transition offensive basketball.
Who are you kidding? I know you have all of your stat sheets filed away.
I do. You want one? I have one on my wallet right here if you want to see one.
Second half coming up. We are just about ready to go. Second half with the Scarlet Knights leading the Red Storm by 5. For Rutgers, Marquise Webb leading the way with 6 points. Darrell Hill 11 on the St. John's side.
Sometimes, Ken, as a broadcaster, you have to start rooting for kids to play well. You know, let's get this slide going, get off the slide, let's start shooting the basketball, let's get right into it, pick up the pace a little bit from both ends. At the end of the night, these guys are just looking to really walk out of this building with the W. We'll see who wants it more. Low-scoring games we've touched on, very low for these teams at 24-19. So, but I'm not so sure, really. You know, sometimes you get a team, Rutgers maybe a little bit more going up and down the floor, but St. John's likes to get up and down also for Norm Roberts' team. But slow down, I can't say it was an advantage to either of these two teams because I just don't think it was a real good half for either of them at the offensive end.
St. John's fortunate to be within 5 points as we begin this second half. Dexter Gray, Lamont Hamilton, Darrell Hill, Eugene Lawrence, and Cedric Jackson, the 5 starters on the floor for the Red Storm. Hamilton overjoins. Hamilton with the rebound, his 9th and he will head to the free throw line.
Interesting enough, Rutgers comes out with a man-to-man defense, and they get the opportunity down low pretty quickly. St. John's, they take a look at the Big East standings with a team from up there with Al Skinnerland. Boston College off to a great start at 19-0. And you take a look at our teams here, both at 1-6, 7-10, identical records.
5 Big East schools ranked in the top 25. From number 5 Boston College down to number 25 Villanova.
Villanova making a little bit of noise. Big blasting of Rutgers the other day, and then getting Kansas, which gives them a real good win on their record there in terms of national recognition. Jay Wright doing a nice job, his squad responding.
Their loss by Rutgers to Villanova, their worst ever loss at the rack. Rutgers' worst loss in Big East history, and their worst loss under Gary Waters, 94-61. But they lead this game by 4. Opening minute, second half. Ollie Bailey showing the nice touch. Now has a team-high 7 points for the Scarlet Knights.
One of the things that Bailey does well and is getting better at is establishing position down low and using that strength that he has to prepare himself for the catch, which makes it easier to go instead of working to try to get a quick bang-bang opportunity.
St. John's trailing by 6. Lawrence guarded by Doobie. Hill underneath. Hamilton throws it back out. Lawrence way off the mark from 3. Right place, right time, Hamilton, as Bailey with a cardinal sin, saving it under the opposition basket.
And it's not pretty, obviously, for St. John's offensively right there again, but they're hanging around, working hard, looking for opportunities. Gonna have our work cut out for us, Kenny, to get the 50 tonight, I think.
Well, I was here back in December with Bucky Waters when St. John's held North Carolina State, a ranked club at the time, to 10 points in the first half.
Remember that. May have been Bucky's influence, though, you know. Slow down type of guy.
Absolutely. Wolfpack scored 35 in the second half, but held to 10 by St. John's in the first. Lob underneath from Gray for Hamilton.
Go attack. Oh, puts it down one too many times. Shields that time just waiting for the big fella to drop that ball to the floor.
Lamont Hamilton now with 11 rebounds for St. John's.
Well, there have been enough missed shots, so there's going to be some rebounding. Look at the stats, 19 rebounds in the first half for Rutgers and 25 for St. John's. So that's indicative of the lack of shooting percentage.
Almost as many rebounds as points. Joins hits and will head to the free throw line. Byron Joins with his first bucket of the game.
Sooner or later, both of these teams are going to recognize that when you're not shooting the ball well and you don't have any rhythm from the outside, get the ball down low to your big guys. Good step across and a terrific fake there. Putting that ball up in the air, Joins showing the ball, forcing defenders to kind of budge and move and leave their feet. Good delivery and good finish.
Joins completing the three-point play. Rutgers back up by 7. These schools met once last year. Rutgers won by 8 down at the rack. Prior to that game, Jim, St. John's had won 8 in a row over Rutgers. St. John's leading the all-time series 18-10. Jackson unable to hit, rebounded by Joins. So St. John's has had Rutgers' number as of late until last year. And Rutgers leading this game by 7.
Would not be surprised to see Rutgers next minute or so go back into a zone that was very effective in the first half when they increased their lead.
How about Rutgers? They allowed 94 points in their last game. So far today, in over 23 minutes, they've allowed only 22.
Fairly big differential there, huh?
You think?
Is that what your point is? We're going to have to go into the comedy routine here, Ken, unless some scoring takes place.
Well, I know it's been a while since my most recent math class. Foul called on Webb, his second.
Well, 22 points and 29. We don't need a whole lot of math skills to keep scoring this one either.
Now we have John Lombardata to our left just in case we do need some help with the calculator.
Well, that's when he usually goes to the calculator once it gets over 30, so he's still using his fingers right now.
Statistician extraordinaire.
Back into the zone, Rutgers. They sense that it's a struggle for St. John's.
Lawrence, no good. And a loose ball foul. It's against the Red Storm. It's number 2 on Dexter Gray.
So the concept is pretty simple. Like Rutgers just switched to that zone. Gary Waters recognizing that St. John's is just having tons of trouble making outside shots right now and getting anything going. So he started out with the man-to-man for the first 3.5 minutes, come back with the zone, and then force this game to the perimeter.
A rare Rutgers turnover.
But their balance is pretty good in the transition. They got back pretty quickly, didn't allow a layup.
Jackson could not capitalize following only the 6th Rutgers miscue, and now Bailey running the floor well.
Excellent look by Doobie, pushing the ball off the floor. Bailey did the first thing the big guys usually fail to do, is he looked the ball right into his hands and caught it, then delivered. As we take a look at the numbers, getting the touch better maybe for Rutgers, but still dismal for St. John's right now at 8 for 37.
Bailey looked like a tight end running downfield.
And he caught it like one. Wow. This is the best news right now for the first 4 minutes and a change of this half, that the timeout was called so St. John's can regroup.
They trail Rutgers by 9 early in the second. Welcome back. Rutgers leading St. John's by the score of 31-22. Give the best seats for every event. No tickets required. It only happens in one place, only Vegas.
And as a fan, Ken, you might start to ask, what do you do if you're St. John's and you're in this doldrum with the shooting percentage 1 for 9 here in the second half and shooting 21% for the game? I might just, if I'm Norm Roberts, extend this defense full court, go man-to-man or a trap, full court pressure next time you have to play defense, and really take some gambles up and down the floor for 2 or 3 minutes.
At the half, Villanova on the road leading UConn by 2 as the Wildcats continue their strong play. Big 15 minutes here for St. John's. This game is within reach, and they play their next 3 on the road beginning Saturday in Connecticut.
Wow.
So the schedule does not get any easier for the Red Storm.
No, it does not. You're right. This game is within reach. They got to start plugging the ball down just how they have that right now. There you
Hamilton
go.
for Lawrence. Battle for the rebound. Lawrence comes away with it. He can't buy a basket, but Hamilton is right there. Yet another rebound for Lamont Hamilton now with 13, and he has 8 points as well.
Not going well again at the offensive set, but the effort was there 2 and 3 times. Look for St. John's to really come up full court if the next couple of sets.
Shields using glass. Quiet night for Shields now with 5 points, coming off the 8-point game in the loss to Villanova.
See, and that's what St. John's has to be careful with as his half wears on. If Shields or Doobie gets a hot hand, it'll be difficult for them to get back in this game.
Jackson. Rutgers looking to add to their 9-point lead. Just over 6 minutes gone by, first half. The second half as the reach-in is called on Gray.
Bailey doing another nice job down low against Gray, really riding him out of the middle of the floor before that ball was delivered. So it's the fundamentals right now, and Rutgers establishing himself and just kind of playing the wear-down game. They're not in a hurry at the offensive end. They got the nice little lead right now. And in this game, with the way St. John's is struggling, 9 points is a pretty good spread. You just have to believe that St. John's is something's going to click sooner or later. Everybody in the building is just waiting for it to happen.
New combination on the floor as Dexter Gray sits down with his 3rd personal foul. So Phil Masiri checks in, and Tyler Jones in the game for the first time tonight for St. John's. Shields fade away. Here's Hill.
Both ends have thrown up their share.
Nice no-look pass for Masiri. And Phil Masiri, who gave St. John's a spark at the end of the first half, draws the foul, number 2 on Ollie Bailey.
And one of the few times that St. John's has been able to get down the floor in somewhat of a quasi-transition type play right there. I wouldn't say that's a full fast break, but at least getting down the floor before Rutgers had a chance to set up defensively, because Rutgers has been doing a nice job with that, getting back on defense, whether it's in man-to-man or in their zone, and stopping any transition hoops.
attempt for Messeri, who has 3 points tonight. His season high is 7. So the Rutgers lead is 8. 13.5 remaining. Kenny Albert, Jim Spanarkel, glad you've joined us tonight from Madison Square Garden. Doobie does not get the roll. Good work on the boards by Messeri.
Sure was. Nice hold off. Here comes a little transition.
Pass broken up, intended for Jones, and St. John's will maintain possession.
St. John's has to find a way, and that's a pretty good drive because maybe it wasn't there initially. It closed up pretty well on the fast break opportunities, but I think you have to start taking some chances to get yourself moving quicker. Wow, I can't believe just how off some of the shooting has been. And we've had half a dozen air balls, probably another half a dozen shots that have missed the rim and just barely gotten the backboard.
St. John's 2 of 16 since halftime. Eugene Lawrence, Jim, tonight 0 for 12.
Might be time to pass.
Ricky Shields. And Rutgers extends to a 10-point lead.
And I think Norm Roberts, wants to talk things over. It's time to regroup. I think Norm Roberts has to start picking up a little bit more full court just to start getting his defense, the pace picked up, make some things happen, and see if you can take some chances.
This match is the biggest lead of the night for the Scarlet Knights. Back at Madison Square Garden, Rutgers leading St. John's by 10, matching the biggest lead of the night for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Well, UConn in Hartford tonight, hosting Villanova, and head coach Jim Calhoun's name has been mentioned as a possible replacement for Rudy Tomjanovich with the Lakers.
Yes, his name came up on a couple of radio shows in this area, in the metropolitan area.
Did you start those rumors, Jim?
Yeah, I always start a rumor. Calhoun gave me a call and said, hey, would you put my name out there for the Lakers? No, but seriously, obviously he's been a very, very successful college coach. He's done a terrific job up in UConn, and I'm not sure, to be honest, whether there's any truth to the rumors. As Lawrence finally gets one to go down, 0 for 12 before that shot. 1 for 13 right now, but a huge shot for St. John's. But you ask yourself the question, why would Jim Calhoun take that job? It's a prestigious job. It's got a lot of national recognition, but boy, he's got a comfort zone up in Connecticut, I would think. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be shocked if Calhoun left Connecticut for the Lakers, just signed the long-term contract.
Extension, yep.
Remember, the Lakers flirted with Mike Krzyzewski during the offseason at Kobe Bryant's request.
A different type of lifestyle, though, compared to the college scene, even though I know NBA players and teams are chartering now and going around. As you take a look at Calhoun's success at UConn, 6 Big East championships and 2 national titles, but there's less travel in the college game than the pro game. We all know that. 82 games is a long season. There are a lot of different cities, 3 cities on average per week. I don't know if I'm trying to talk Jim Calhoun into it or not.
One of his former players is a Laker, of course, Caron Butler. Involved in the Shaquille O'Neal trade with the Miami Heat during the offseason. And the Huskies will host St. John's this Saturday, starting at noon Eastern. St. John's Red Storm and the Connecticut Huskies up in stores.
I will tell you what would make it a little easier for Calhoun to decide on the Lakers if he could take Shaquille O'Neal back with him.
I think the odds of that are a lot lower than the odds of Calhoun actually going to Hollywood.
Very good. I knew I could get you back on the comedy track.
Shields from 3 off the mark.
See if St. John starts to push the ball a little bit more. Yep, extra step. Good idea by Hill. The results would have been there. Williams shooting the ball from the outside. Norm Roberts shaking his head a little bit. What do I have to do to get these guys to get the rhythm going?
Yes, that is a second half score. Rutgers leading St. John's 35-28. 11:26 remaining in this second half. St. John's shooting only 22% from the field. Rutgers 37%. And the Scarlet Knights lead is 7.
And obviously we don't mean to make light of the game tonight with the shooting percentages. As you see, St. John's with their upcoming schedule, it's at Connecticut and at Pitt. It gets a lot easier, doesn't it? Connecticut, Pitt, back-to-back, two teams that have been fighting and having a great game there with Connecticut, Pitt, competitive basketball. But, you know, we don't mean to make light of the shooting percentages because I've been there. It's a hard, long night when things aren't going well. But here's the full court press. Finally, Norm Roberts, good decision to come out of the timeout, change it around, see if he can get something going.
Lawrence looking inside for Hamilton. And the ball was kicked, so they will reset the 35-second shot clock. Hill from three, he's got it. His fourth three-point field goal, pulling St. John's to within 4.
And here we go, Ken. Here's the full court action that I was referring to a couple of minutes ago. Give yourself a jump start. Now, see, all sorts of things can happen. You know, you start playing pickup basketball, even though you're a little erratic maybe at the offensive end from time to time. Get this thing going. You know, if you're really in a doldrum like they have been, you have to take a chance. You have to take some risks to get this game going, even if it gets more out of control than you would like. Good inside, outside look. Nice pass by Hamilton to Hill. The H's making that work right there. And then they come right back, force a timeout that Rutgers has to call. So good job by Norm Roberts switching this up. I would anticipate that he really will stay with this for another couple of minutes and see what results he gets. If he gets the lead a little bit, then you can go back to your zone defense and switch up a little bit. But he's got to get his guys fired up. There's no other way of getting around it.
6 consecutive points for the Red Storm, as they have cut a 10-point deficit down to 4.
You know, it comes down to, you know, you'd rather win a game ugly than lose a game playing pretty. So this one has been an ugly one for both of these teams offensively, but see who can squeeze out a win here any way you can.
Rutgers with Doobie, Shields, Webb, Inglis, and Bailey. Their lead has been cut to 4. Doobie takes it all the way and hits.
Good smarts by Doobie, a guy who's known for his outside shooting ability, recognizes that his team is having some problems. Let's go to the basket, make something happen.
From 3, Ryan Williams off the mark.
Good decision just then by Webb not to pass that ball up the court to Doobie, who was trying to sneak out.
Shields over Williams. Hamilton now with 14 rebounds.
See, Norm Roberts is looking at Lawrence and saying to him, come on, get the ball up the floor. You know, it's kind of like a lazy, not lazy, but like a slow dribble coming up the floor. You got to push that up there.
Nice touch, Lamont Hamilton with a double-double, 10 points, 14 rebounds.
Force the action a little bit more for St. John's.
4th double-double of the year for Hamilton. We have passed the midway point of this second half. It's a 4-point Rutgers lead.
And all of a sudden, you're seeing a little bit better bounce in the legs of the St. John's team.
Bailey draws a foul. Masiri is called for his second, as Joel Wiggins checks in for Rutgers. He replaces Ricky Shields. Wiggins' shining moment this season in his lone start, Jim, against Georgetown, 23 points.
Nothing wrong with that, huh? You got to get a little offensive burst off the bench here coming in the second half. I mean, he has the ability to drive to the basket, but he could also hit that long-range shot. Gives him another attack guy as Doobie misses his little floater through the lane on the pull-up jumper.
Lawrence saw a hole and draws the foul. So Eugene Lawrence not afraid to keep throwing it up despite his 1 of 13 night. Lawrence was fouled by Webb and will head to the free throw line.
But even at 1 for 13, Ken, if he pulled up and shot the ball from 15 or 17 feet, I'd really start to say, wait a minute, after 1 for 13, but throwing himself through the middle of the lane like that, end up at the free throw line, that's a good decision.
Lawrence only a 57% free throw shooter, freshman out of Lincoln High School, teammate last year of Sebastian Telfair. And was terrific in the holiday festival. Entered the starting lineup just prior to that tournament. That was one of the keys for St. John's in their victories over Canisius and North Carolina State.
All of a sudden, the switch of defenses. St. John's has gotten a little burst of energy, and they look a little sharper to my eye defensively also. Let's see if they can sustain it. Now Rutgers has the challenge to get a good shot right now. Good decision there by Webb not to shoot that basketball. A lot of pushing off with the dribble drives.
5 on the shot clock, and the Scarlet Knights turn it over. Ruby lost the handle.
Now Norm Roberts, good decision there. Came back with a full press at half court in terms of the pressure, going full and going at them. Really coming at on the perimeter, working hard, switching the defenses up a little bit right there. Good decision. 10-2 run over the last 3:40 for St. John's. And this is a different ball game, obviously, because St. John's has just taken the lead, but more so, Kenny, the momentum shift is now clearly in St. John's' favor. They feel it. The bench feels good about it right now.
The first lead of the game for St. John's. Remember, Rutgers scored the first 7 points of this game. And the Red Storm have battled back a 13-2 run. And now Hamilton is called for the foul. The Syrian English have words.
Yeah, that was after the play. You're right. Hamilton had the foul called on him, and around the foul line area, the play continued on. But here they go. St. John's looking inside first. Lawrence shooting through the slump, huh?
Lawrence now with 8 second-half points. 8 of the 19 scored by St. John's since halftime. Wiggin was stripped. Darrell Hill with the lob. Ryan Williams. And Williams has had his problems tonight.
I know I'm an old-fashioned guy, Kenny, but I think you know what I'm going to say. You got a 3-on-2 break. You have a 1-point lead in an 8-minute game. Let's keep this on the fundamental side here. Pass the ball, a little bounce pass, and then you have a layup. It's old-fashioned. It's just not spectacular, but you come away with a bucket there. You cannot come away without going to the free throw line. Worst case right there.
Williams now 0 for 5. And I would say 4 out of those 5 were from close range.
See, that's where I think good attempt right here by St. John's again. There we go. Lawrence looked up the floor. You have a snowbird. You hurry.
Terrific second effort from Lawrence. Hill could not capitalize.
He's just getting back to that last point on the 3-on-2 break. I think that's where the fundamentals of basketball have broken down a bit. You know, come down the court, 3-on-2 and get a layup. Get a 3-point lead rather than trying to get spectacular and now find yourself in a hole again.
Hill commits his 3rd. Jim, we have on ourselves a ball game. St. John's with their first lead of the night. Ahead by 1. St. John's, by virtue of a 13-2 run, have taken a 1-point lead over Rutgers. Time now to take a look at our Pontiac game-changing performance.
A little inside-outside action. Hamilton to Hill. Hamilton with the turnaround jumper from the free throw line, and Lawrence shooting the basketball from long range to make something happen. Step up second half here, especially the last 4 minutes for Lawrence. St. John's run over the 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes 13-2, but first 28 minutes for Lawrence. He had 0 points, 0 for 12. Last 4 minutes, complete turnaround, 2 for 2 with 8 points.
Lawrence and Hamilton, Jim, have combined for 15 of the 19 St. John's points in the second half. Rutgers playing from behind for the first time tonight. Wiggin. And a strong rebound pulled down by Ryan Williams.
Good look, though, by Wiggin. Good work off the dribble. Got himself squared up. Just missed a shot, but that's a shot they can live with.
Hamilton can't find anyone. Now into the corner for Williams, who hits the 3.
It's amazing. Just You got to go back about 2.5 minutes ago when Norm Roberts made the switch and went full court. It was as if he was almost pulling these guys into a gas station to pump gas into them to get them going and igniting a fire.
A 16-2 St. John's run. They trailed by 10. They now lead by 4.
They get it going towards the hoop.
Shields from 3. Ricky Shields with his second three-point field goal. Now just one shy of tying the all-time Rutgers record held by Jeff Billett.
And a good work just then by Doobie to put the ball on the floor, get it going towards the middle of the bucket, bring the defense in and collapse it a little.
Hamilton could not hit. Siri battling with Inglis.
Who wants it? Where is it?
Williams has it, and he draws a foul. Wiggin whistled for his second personal, so Ryan Williams, the junior out of Cardozo High School, who hit the 3 a moment ago, will head to the line.
You see how Doobie brings defenders in. The reach in there by Williams. He reaches to try to help out Doobie, so that collapses the defense from the top, brings them in 5 additional feet. Then you kick it out and get a nice rotation there by Shields, who's going to be able to shoot it in stride. This game almost smells like overtime, doesn't it? You know, just the way it's kind of hanging around. Neither team really wanting to put up a good offensive run.
Do you get paid extra for overtimes?
I'll take half of your pay. Well, not on your birthday, though.
I appreciate that.
I know you want to get home early tonight, so you enjoy some of that birthday cake.
I was woken up very early this morning.
Where you? I can imagine.
By my 2 daughters who do not want to wait. They had some muffins ready.
Nice, very nice. Siri just caught one, I think. See, he's going to get called by the call for the travel just then, which really isn't fair because he took an elbow to the side of the face. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at the expression afterwards. Watch 15 in white. Wham! And then you go down. You know, I'm not so sure that should have been a walk, Ken, because he didn't have possession of that basketball.
Here's Shields from 3, and of all people, it was an elbow from Ollie Bailey.
Yeah.
Probably felt like an entire arm.
Ollie Bailey very well put together. So if you're going to go and get hit by an elbow, he's not the first choice for the Rutgers squad.
We mentioned earlier, Bailey looked like a tight end running the court. Here's Lawrence from 3.
Oh, good effort.
A former Rutgers tight end will start in the Super Bowl on Sunday for the Philadelphia Eagles. O.J. Smith, who was at the Rutgers game on Saturday and received a standing ovation from the crowd.
You're going to bring all the sports in tonight, huh? Do a cross-section.
Ties in with Rutgers.
Who do you like in the Super Bowl? Are you allowed to give me a comment on that, or?
I'm usually wrong, so I'm the wrong person to ask.
4 fouls on Hill.
I think it'll be a close game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. A lot of people that have been listening to it, the so-called experts, have been saying the Patriots are so efficient.
Well, it's hard to pick against Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I know. He's been successful. It's hard to go against Tom Brady, too, at the same time. I just have a funny feeling that Donovan McNabb is going to put up nice numbers and be confident and at least give them a shot at making a run at it.
A former Big East basketball player.
There you go. Very good. From the Cuse.
St. John's with a 2-point lead. We approach 5 minutes remaining. Hill underneath looking for Hamilton. I remember doing a couple of games up at the Carrier Dome with McNabb coming off the bench for the Orange Men.
Did you ever think he was going to be this good a football player in the NFL?
I never really saw him play in college, so it was really hard for me to say.
He has really turned himself into a pretty good quarterback.
And of course, the fans in Philadelphia were not happy when he was selected. Fans wanted Ricky Williams. Under 5 minutes, St. John's by 2. Shields, no good. And it's kept alive by Wiggin.
Lawrence had pretty good position on the other side. That ball kicked over his head, though.
Doobie from 3. The Scarlet Knights back on top. They lead by 1.
And second opportunity just then. Wiggin with the rebound. Giving every possession now vital. 4.5 minutes left. A 1-point game. Decisions, executions, and rebounding the basketball.
Eugene Lawrence has found the touch over the last 5 minutes.
It's hard to believe that he was 0 for 12 at one point in this basketball game.
He's now one of 3 Red Storm players in double figures.
It's almost like a light switch has gone off for him in the positive sense.
Doobie way off. 4 minutes to go. St. John's trailed all the way until just moments ago. They now lead by 1. Rutgers led by as many as 10 points. The winner of tonight's game will take home their second Big East victory. Williams with the emphatic slam. No way he was going to miss that one.
Absolutely not. A rim rocker supreme. Here's another good drive.
Byron Joyce with a nice cut to the hoop.
Guys going towards the basket, but it just continues to drag. Rutgers back in their zone, slowing this thing down. I mean, this pace of this game has moved along very quickly because of the zone.
A lot of second half playing time for Masiri. Wiggin back the other way.
Nice attack.
Masiri gets back, commits the foul.
Nice job by Wiggin just then in the open floor. Knew the defender was going to cut off his strong right hand going to the basket. He did a little cross at half court and attack with a strong drive.
So with 3:07 remaining, it's St. John's by 1. Welcome back. A 10-point Rutgers lead has evaporated. St. John's leading by 1. Close game in Hartford. Villanova out on top of UConn by 2.
Hey, you know, you look at these standings and Villanova creeping into a good spot. Jay Wright has the team playing hard. The perimeter game is really shooting the ball well. Connecticut kind of up and down right now. A young team looking to find themselves, I think. And but obviously shaping up as a pretty good game up there also. I have one right here. It hasn't been the prettiest game in terms of offensive explosions, but it is all knotted up with 3:07 to go, and Gary Waters has Norm Roberts down the other end. Now the time comes where the coaches have to work their way through this and strategize every split second and every set that they have the basketball.
Joel Wiggin, the Bronx native out of Columbus High School, hitting a pair of clutch free throws, putting Rutgers back on top by 1, under 3 minutes remaining.
Rutgers in their man-to-man again. They've switched it up tonight. Some zone, some man-to-man. St. John's has had some problems, obviously, except for the last 4 minutes executing. Good job. Hamilton continues to isolate down in the blocks. It's good work to isolate him in the man-to-man. Give him the basketball and let him use his strength and size to try to jump through people if he has to get to the free throw line.
Foul number 4 committed by Byron Joynes. So Lamont Hamilton only 2 of 6 from the line tonight. Has 10 points, 15 rebounds. The 15 rebounds are a career high. And Lamont Hamilton, our defensive player of the game, brought to you by Cooper Tires. Don't give up a thing.
60% at the free throw line coming into tonight's basketball game. So give him an award, and all of a sudden he hits 2 smooth, pure free throws with great rotation. He's got very good rotation on his shot for a big guy. His number should be higher than that, 60%.
Tonight's percentage up to 50%, now 4 of 8. But Hamilton's played very well. 12 points, 15 rebounds.
Great defensive job.
Stuffed by Darrell Hill.
Terrific. Whoa.
And remember, Hill is playing with 4 personal fouls.
You know what, Ken? I think Hill recognized that Doobie likes to get to a spot on the floor and float away just a little bit. Hill waited and caught him right where he's supposed to, floating away and jump towards him. But as you touched on, staying away from him with the foul situation.
We approach 2 minutes remaining. St. John's leading by 1. Shot clock under 10. Hill using the Hamilton pick. Shot clock at 3. Hill will have to throw it up. Williams beaten to the rebound, and now Rutgers with a chance to take the lead.
A pretty good decision right there. A 2-on-2 break. Got to go up strong here. Good hands from below. There's that Hill again. Reaching in, stripping the ball from Bailey.
Doobie for Bailey. It is good, and the foul. Ollie Bailey with the bucket, and he will head to the line looking to give Rutgers a 2-point lead.
And if at first you do not succeed, keep pounding that basketball underneath. Here comes Doobie down the middle with the BMW ultimate drive of the game. Little dish. And Bailey with the finish. Big free throw attempt coming up. Obviously, every shot that will be taken from this point on is huge. But Bailey with a terrific finish.
Bailey unable to hit. So the Rutgers lead is 1. Norm Roberts calls timeout with 1:27 remaining. And the Red Storm trailing the Scarlet Knights by 1.
Well, I think what Norm wants to talk about right now, Gary Waters down the other end, Rutgers, who's going to talk about being smart, try not to make careless fouls and reach-ins at this particular point. On the other hand, I think with Norm Roberts, what he wants to do is get his team making smart decisions offensively. Look for the little 1 or 2 drive through the middle of the lane and kick it back if you need to. So important with this game with Rutgers and St. John's just about down at the bottom with Providence at 0-7. Two teams that have had kind of competitive games throughout the last month a little bit, but not really being able to seal things down the stretch of basketball games.
Each team with 1 60-second timeout, 1:30. The possession arrow favors St. John's.
And they have to remember that that's an important point, that they have the possession arrow in their favor. If they get tied up, instead of turning the basketball over, you know, you can settle, and I do mean settle for a tie-up if need be. So far, the man-to-man defense well defended by Rutgers again.
Hamilton strong to the hoop, but put a little too much on it. Bailey with the rebound for Rutgers.
Still plenty of time with a 1-point game. You don't go into the fouling mode, St. John's, from their perspective. See, now if I'm Rutgers, I'm thinking that I have a 2-for-1 situation right here, so I don't want to burn too much clock off. I want to attack.
Wiggin for Ollie Bailey. Rutgers by 3.
Terrific decision, Ken, because the time differential now is a 9-second time differential, so they're now in the driver's seat. If they give up a 3 right now, which I'm not so sure I would go for if I'm St. John's, I'd still go towards the basket, but they're still in the driver's seat, Rutgers. A terrific decision. Drive the ball, plug it down. Bailey once again in good catching position. Come at it, Hamilton just misses with the picking up the charge right there, but nice decision. Wiggin going down the middle of the floor, making things happen. Again with the delivery of the big guy. Great execution by Rutgers down the stretch here.
So Bailey with the last 2 buckets for Rutgers. They trailed by 1. They now lead by 3. Bailey with a team-high 13 points. Up next for Rutgers, Jim, you and I will be down at the rack on Saturday when they host Georgetown.
And you look behind it, you know, with Seton Hall gave them a run and beat them recently, and then they go to add Providence, so a team Providence struggling, and then
their only Big East win came over Providence.
Right, exactly, and then maybe they could avoid those next 2 games at Boston College and at Connecticut, because they'll be dandies also for them.
But still 42.9 seconds remaining here. Rutgers a 3-point lead. Under Gary Waters, this is 4th year in Big East play on the road. Rutgers has won only twice. 2-25 on the road in conference. Victories at West Virginia and Villanova, and that has been it. Looking for just their 3rd road conference win in 5 years under Gary Waters.
Well, what they need to do right now is to get a good stop defensively and then make their free throws. It's pretty simple for them if they get the stop defensively. Now, St. John's down 3 with 42.9 seconds. The trick from a St. John's perspective is how do you obviously score, and I would say to drive towards the basket right now, but how do you extend this game if you don't score? And that means by just going after Rutgers and fouling them and putting them to the line. Plenty of time, though, to go to the line, to go to the basket right now if you get it up the court and go quickly.
St. John's trailing by 3. Jackson guarded by Shields.
Don't settle for a 3 right now. Go towards the basket if you can.
Hamilton.
There you go.
Wanted the opportunity for the three-point play, but instead will shoot 2.
May have taken just a touch too much time off the clock if you're a purist. But what does Hamilton do? He extends himself, gets himself on the floor against Joins, and uses that one-step quickness to start his move, puts the ball on the floor twice, but under control to get a nice soft shot up, almost winning off the glass.
And Byron Joins has fouled out. Joins finished with 5 points, all in the second half. A couple of free throws coming up for Lamont Hamilton, who's having a terrific night. 12 points, 15 rebounds. Dan Waterstrat, the freshman out of Dearborn Heights, Michigan, will replace Byron Joins. So Hamilton will shoot 2. 24.8 seconds remaining, looking to pull St. John's to within 1.
Rutgers with 2 timeouts, St. John's with 1. And obviously free throws at the end of basketball games. There's a guy who just shot 2 of them very nicely. Another good-looking shot there, isn't it, Kenny?
Has now hit his last 3. He's 5 for 9 from the line tonight. Here comes Waterstrat.
Great rotation on the shot. Even the ones he missed in the first half. His shot with the rotation and follow through is very good. Teams have to think and anticipate a miss right here. Good shooting, though. Good job. Hamilton really stepping up down the stretch.
4 in a row for Hamilton. Rutgers with the ball by 1, and the steal by Jackson. Feed it wow. It's rejected by Doobie, but kept alive.
Nice decision here to call timeout, regroup. Boy, Ken, that was bang, bang, bang play. Terrific effort by both teams just then, but it was Doobie who came up with that block. Fabulous reaction in the backcourt.
What a sequence. Let's take another look.
Well, you take a look right here. A little pushing and shoving maybe, but nice defensive effort by Jackson. Now Doobie climbs the ladder to go get the ball and block it out. And then somehow Jackson comes back. But here's Jackson picking up once again. He catches the cross with his right hand against Shields. Boy, Doobie bailed him out right there. We'll see what happens. Still plenty of time in this basketball game, though. Once again, the look. Clean, no body. Went around Lawrence on that. Lawrence, I think, was kind of thinking, hey, this is a layup. We'll go up by a point right here. But Doobie reacted very quickly and sharply and anticipated it very nicely with the fall-away block.
St. John's with no timeouts remaining. Rutgers with 2. A 1-point lead for the Scarlet Knights. St. John's basketball with 16.1 seconds remaining.
And once again, situation right now where you're down a point, get the ball in, make a quick decision, go right towards the basket if you can find the seam.
Down to 10 seconds.
There it is.
Darrell Hill. Hamilton. And Hamilton gives St. John's the lead with 5.5 seconds remaining.
Well, that was just a good job of being very patient with the basketball just then. Hill kind of held his ground pretty nicely the first time. He said, hey, I'm going to go to the basket with 14 seconds left. Watch, now it's not there. Now all of a sudden the seam opens up. Nobody steps across. And that name that you keep mentioning, Hamilton, comes up huge with the follow-up. See, because Hill takes everybody with him. Nobody stepped in front of him to pick up a charge. He takes all the black shirts with him. Look at all the shirts funneling in. Nobody's there to block out. Hamilton finishes it off. Terrific judgment there by Hill, and a great follow-up by Hamilton.
16 points, 16 rebounds for Lamont Hamilton. The Red Storm, who trailed by as many as 10, lead by 1 with 5.5 seconds remaining. St. John's has played a number of close games this season. In fact, their 6 Big East losses have come by an average of just 5.5 points per game.
Now keep in mind, Rutgers against Syracuse, when they played them recently, they tried to get the ball. Now it's a different situation in terms of entering the basketball right now. But remember, they tried to go into the big fella at the post and then kick it to Doobie for that long shot that really should have gone in against Syracuse. With all due respect to Syracuse, that ball was down. Now they have to come the full length of the floor and advance it as quickly as possible.
5.5 seconds, Doobie. Under 3 seconds, Doobie. Left one fly, in and out, and St. John's hangs on.
Is life unfair to Doobie, huh? Against Syracuse, he had the basketball going down. That one was very close to going down, although he may have taken an extra stride to get that shot off. What a great finish, a great last 5 minutes of a basketball game that was sluggish all evening long.
The Red Storm trailed by as many as 10, but a huge second half comeback led by Lamont Hamilton and Eugene Lawrence, who started the game 0 for 12. And the Red Storm now with 2 wins in conference play, one more than all of last season. Rutgers dropping to 1-7 in the Big East. So St. John's wins it by the score of 53-52. This has been a presentation of ESPN Plus, the worldwide leader in collegiate sports television.